Hey everybody, welcome back to our Flask tutorial video series. In the last video, we got our server. We basically just got started, talked about our environment that we're going to be using, and that was it. Now we need to actually set up our server to host our Flask application. So let's go ahead and get started there. And actually, you will host your very first Flask web application in this video. So yay! So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, we need to install a few things here, and you'll have to work with me here. All the commands. There's quite a few commands that we have to call, and in fact, let me reference one of my cheat sheets. All right. Okay, so there's quite a long command here that we call. So the first command is going to be sudo apt get install. And we want all of these things. We want Apache 2. We want, well, we don't need PHP 5, but we're going to take MySQL-client and MySQL-server. So sudo apt get install Apache 2, MySQL client, MySQL server. So hit enter there, and basically it's going to run through all the things that we just asked it to download, and wait for that. And since we're installing MySQL, now we're going to get this question about configuring our server, and I suppose that's fine. Okay, enter your password for the MySQL root user. Now don't confuse that. This is the MySQL root user, and then you've got your root user password, which later on you should really disable the root user and create your own admin user and all that, but we'll talk about that later as well. So anyway, make those things, and wait for that to happen. And in fact, I suppose I should write down these passwords because I don't. There we go. Okay, so everything's done now. We've installed all those things, and now the other thing that we need to get is we're going to go ahead and get sudo apt get install lib apache 2-mod-wsgi. So we're going to be using WSGI to run our virtual environment Flask application. So we're going to grab that. Okay, next thing that we're going to do is sudo a2nmod-wsgi. Hit enter there. And okay, it's already enabled. We just need to make sure basically. And now we're ready to kind of set up our environment here. So I'm going to go ahead and do sudo. Actually, we're going to go cd var www, enter there. And you should be able to ls. You've just got your HTML file or folder rather. And now what we want to go ahead and do is we're going to go sudo make dir, and you can call this anything you want. For simplicity's sake, we're going to call this Flask App. So if you happen to like reference other Flask tutorials, a lot of times they're going to use the Flask App as the name. So I like to keep that the same. Flap. We should call it Flap. Anyway, Flask App. So sudo make dir Flask App. And now we've got our Flask App directory. So we're going to cd into Flask App. If you guys aren't familiar with the SSH or any terminal, you can start to type something like capital FL, hit tab, and it finishes it for you. So just so I don't lose anybody. So cd Flask App, and now we need another directory within that, and that's going to be our actual apps directory. So you've got Flask App, and that's going to basically be your entire Flask application, and then you've really got your Flask web app within that. But we're just going to call it Flask App again. So we're going to go sudo make dir mkdir Flask App, hit enter, and that's done. And then now we want to cd into that new Flask App. And now what we want to do is we want to sudo make dir static, and then sudo make dir templates. So now we can do the list here, and we've got static and templates folders there. And then in this directory, so var www flask app / flask app. Now we can go sudo nano underscore underscore init underscore underscore .py, and that's going to open up our a nano Python interpreter. I hate using nano for this, and that's why I'm going to show you guys how we can use your Python IDLE instead. But for now, we're just going to use this. And to do this we need a few things. First, we're going to say from Flask import capital Flask. We do not have Flask yet. We're going to have to download it, but we're just making this file for now. So from Flask import Flask, and then we're going to say app equals capital Flask, and then in parentheses underscore underscore name underscore underscore. And so we're just basically defining our app that we're going to run here. And then now you go @, and this is for decorator functionality. And so we're going to say app.root, and this is your URL map basically. So if you're like familiar with, well, never mind. But anyways, this will be the URL that you use to reach whatever it is you're about to define down here. So it'll make sense, a little more sense if I just finish what I'm doing here. So @approot, and this is a function decorator. So you use decorators that go above the function, but they're kind of attributed to the function that they come right before. And Flask uses this for your URL paths. So app.root means what root are we going to do to reach this function that we're about to define. And in this case, what we've got going on here, we still, let me see, let's go to harrisonkinsley.com. We might have the Apache. Nope. Anyway, what this means though, what it will mean soon enough, is approot slash rather means this, right? harrisonkinsley.com /. By that same token, you could say, approot / hello or something like that, and that would be harrisonkinsley.com /hello. Okay, so but for now we want to just do /. So this will be like the home page, so to speak. So approot /, and now what we're going to do is define, and we're just, the function name here, it's not really that big of a deal. You can really call this anything you want. We're going to call this homepage, so we'll say define homepage. And then in the function, again, this is what I don't like about nano, but 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll just indent ourselves. Here you say return. So this function is really simple. It's just a simple function that just straight up returns, hi there, how you doing? Okay, and that's it. So when someone references the just root directory, basically, it's going to define this function, and this function just returns this statement. So it's kind of confusing if you're coming from Python, because if you've learned much, this only defines the function, but then what happens though is coming down here, as a Flask application, as your init.py, what basically we can say is if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals double, and then in quotes underscore underscore main underscore underscore. What do we want to do? Well, we want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then app.run. Now, a couple of things I'm going to mention real quick. First of all, Flask comes with a great debugging feature. For whatever reason, I can't get it to actually work for me. So if someone has a method for getting this to work, let me know. I've tried everything, like app.debug equals true. I've tried app.run, and then in the parameters debug equals true, all this stuff. I can never get debugging to work. I'll show you, just in case you can't get it to work, I'll show you what I do instead, because what you can do is you can come up here and you can literally encase everything in a try and accept. You can even encase this and try and accept as well. So just keep that in mind. So anyway, we're going to control X to save. Yes, we save it as init.py, and we're ready to rumble. Now, we still don't have Flask yet, so we're going to get that. And we also want to go ahead and get pip, so we can do pip install and all that. So sudo apt-get install python-pip. Yes, we want to do that. And we'll wait. That's all good. Only if it's smart. Yeah, since this is a new server, we might as well get sudo apt get upgrade. Actually, let's run. I guess we'll run update first. So sudo apt get update, and then we're going to run an upgrade as well. Cool. And then just to hit up. So that was update. Now we're going to do upgrade. Yes. And I want to say that we successfully got pip install or pip, but we did have a few missing packages for some reason. Probably is fine, but I'm going to rerun that again one more time. If you have any issues installing things, you can also, instead of apt-get, you can use aptitude, and sometimes that tries a little bit harder to work around problems. But yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about various things like that. That's kind of why I don't really necessarily like doing things on your home machine, because if you create a website locally, moving to remote is like such a daunting thing. It gets pretty rough sometimes. But anyway, so now let's run sudo apt get install python pip again. And another thing, you can hit the up arrow and reference like previous function or previous things that you've said. So we're going to run this one more time, make sure that that works out. So we'll hit yes again. Hopefully this time it installs. So it looks like that time it didn't, because normally it would be like you already have this package. So hopefully that works. Can't imagine why I wouldn't. We could always just use apt-get though, probably for all, like for Flask and all that. So yeah, okay, this one worked out though. So apt-get upgrade and update. Now we need to install a virtual environment, and we're going to use virtual environment to actually run our, because basically like Flask uses a Python environment to run, and we use like a virtual environment for that. So we're going to go ahead and grab that as well. So sudo pip install virtual env. Done. And then now what we want to do is sudo virtual env going crazy here, and then venv, and you can call venv whatever you want. Since it's a virtual environment, I'm just gonna leave it venv. So now we've got a new Python executable in venv, and so basically we can install packages to that and use them in our Flask application. So we've got that, and then what you can do, you can activate and deactivate your virtual environment, and basically the only time you're ever going to really do this is to install Flask inside of that virtual environment, but we have to do that. So we're going to go source venv /bin/activate, and that activates your virtual environment. You'll know it because you've got venv in parentheses there. And here what we're going to want to do is we're going to go sudo pip install Flask with a capital F, and we installed Flask, all set. And you can find out for sure if it's running by going sudo python __init__.py. Run that, and you can see that we're running on our local host on port 5000. See, our server was 162.243.50.94. Yeah, so our server is definitely up, and then let's see if we can get away with this. Nope. I thought I might. Anyway, it's running on our virtual server, but we shouldn't be able to access that anyways because it should only be locally. So now what we want to do is we need to configure our virtual environment basically to run Flask on our server for us. So really, HarrisonKinsley.com shouldn't resolve to anything, but I would have expected Harrison Kinsley to resolve to this page, but for whatever reason it doesn't want to. Anyway, hit Control-C, and then we're going to go ahead and hit deactivate here to turn off our virtual environment. And now what we want to do is we need to configure this our server here to host our Flask app. So what you're going to want to do is sudo nano /etc/apache2/sites available, let's learn how to type here, /Flask app.conf. So configuration, hit enter. And then in here we have all of our settings basically for our file. And I'll just copy and paste this, so we don't really need to type all this. I'll put this link to this stuff in the description. Probably put this all the code up on pythonprogramming.net anyway. So we'll just do this. And if I forget to post this code when I post the video, somebody just holler at me and we will get this code up. So the server name is the website that you're going to be hosting on. In our case, that is, in my case anyway, not yours, harrisonkinsley.com. And then server admin, this is basically an email that will be posted on your 500 errors and stuff. yo@yo.com. You can put whatever you want there, doesn't really matter. So now that's basically it. Just make sure you've got your domain name up here like what you wanted. Control X, yes to save, enter, done. Now we can enable this by going sudo a2en for enable site, and then the name of that site that we just made, which was flaskapp.conf. Hit enter. And we need to let's do service Apache 2 reload. And I think the command was fine, but we'll just do that. Yeah, okay. So it's already enabled, but you just had to like push it with this reload. Now we've got to configure our WSGI. So we're going to cd into /var/www/flask app. And in there, you should find your singular Flask app folder there. Now what we're going to want to do is sudo nano flask app.wsgi, and in here is where we put our WSGI rules. And first we're going to define where Python is with this shebang. So /user/bin/python. And just note the !, space, and then the location of our Python. Now we're going to go ahead and import sys for system, import logging, and then we're going to say logging.basic capital config, and then stream equals sys.stderr. So again, just to go over this line, logging.basic and then capital C config, that, and now we're going to go sys.path.insert 0, and then var www flask app / and then we're going to say from flask app import app as application, and then application.secret_key. And this is where your secret key is. If you happen to ever share your website with anybody, or maybe you're making an open source website, you want to remove the secret key. For now, we'll just do this as our secret key. That's a really solid secret key. But yeah, don't share the secret key. And there's a lot of good ways you can generate good random secret keys, so keep that in mind. For now, we'll keep this simple. We can maybe talk about secret keys later. For the rest of what's written here, don't really worry. You don't need to understand what's happening here. I don't really even fully understand what's happening in this WSGI script here. But anyway, we'll hit Control X, yes to save, enter. You should never edit your WSGI file again unless you need to change your key or hide your key or whatever. So that's it. Now let's go ahead and restart Apache real quick. Sudo service Apache 2 restart. You're going to find yourself doing this very often with Flask. For whatever weird reason, Flask caches. It's not even in your browser. It's like on the server for whatever reason. It caches the websites, and you have to refresh it to see your changes sometimes. Or sometimes you'll make a change, and it'll be a change that sets your server to be unloadable basically, or sets your website to not load. but you'll be able to load it because of the cache. So it'll like regress because it can't load it, and then you'll find out like 20 minutes later that your website doesn't load, and you'll be like, wait, what? And it turns out it was like something you did a long time ago that you thought was okay, and it went well, but it didn't. So anyway, that's that. Let's see if we can resolve HarrisonKinsley.com yet. Yay! So now we can go to HarrisonKinsley.com and we get, hi there, how you doing? So hopefully you can get to that point, and like I said, I basically changed the DNS and all that in line with making this video. I didn't really pause it all, so hopefully that happened just as seamlessly for all of you guys. It should be a pretty quick process, but anyway, so that's that. And I'll stop the video here and we'll kind of continue on in the next video, but I just want to come back to this. So cd Flask App and ls, and init.py is basically our main file here. So sudo nano __ and tab enter, and here's our app. So again, you can do like, hi there, how you doing? Playa hits, oops, not so used to using my other editor, but anyway, Control X to save, yes, enter. And now if we come back to our website here, hit refresh, and this time it worked, but sometimes I'm hoping to show you guys what I mean by this caching nonsense that it does sometimes. Let's do x, or no, 5 plus x, maybe we can get away with that. That won't be a syntax error. So Control X, yes, enter. Hey there, how you doing, playa? And we go to like HarrisonKinsley.com. There we go. You see how it regressed to like an old version that was once workable? This website does not work, and you'll see maybe if we refresh it enough, now it's doing playa. So it's kind of like playing around with these old caches, and then we'll do service Apache 2 restart. We'll restart Apache. And now let's go ahead and refresh, and you get an internal server error. That's what I mean. So every time you make like a major change to your website, you definitely are going to want to do service Apache 2 restart, or service Apache 2 restart, because sometimes you'll make that change and you won't notice that either that change isn't there yet or whatever, and you'll only find out like 20 minutes later that whatever you did didn't work. It's really irritating. And so there's some weird caching that goes on there. Same thing with like making any edit period. Just because it didn't bring your website down, the edit won't necessarily show up until you do a restart. So anyway, pretty long video here, so I'm going to cut it off. But in the next video, we'll be talking about making a little more complex of a website, as well as you know, like, I'm not sure if we'll get into templates in the next video, but also using SCP. I greatly prefer to use SCP. So if we go here and we come down to var www Flask App, this is our init.py folder. Now naturally when you double click on init.py, it's going to bring up like the text editor for WinSCP, but I'll show you guys how to get it to bring up you know, your Python and all of that. So anyway, that's what we'll be doing in the next video. Stay tuned for that. If you guys have any questions or comments on this video, feel free to leave them below. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for all the support and subscriptions, and until next time.